What is up, guys? Sonduren Fanarredha here. Winter's on its way, so I wanted to give you guys my top 5 tips on how to properly winterize and protect your car for winter driving. The first tip is making sure you're using a full synthetic oil. This is really important. In winter driving specifically, when you start up your car, most of the wear actually happens to your internal parts of the engine during startup when there's no oil coming up to the top of the engine. So this is a big problem that a lot of people are looking into that's causing the majority of wear inside of your engine. The biggest way to fight this in the winter is getting an oil, number one, that's synthetic. Synthetic oils are going to be able to be much more viscous during the initial startup of the car in colder temperatures. There's lots of tests that show this. Essentially, a conventional oil versus a synthetic oil, you are much better off. The oil is going to come up to temperature faster and it's going to be more viscous during the times when it's very cold, -30, -20, even -40 degrees Celsius. So you definitely want to go ahead and use a synthetic oil. So for my Lexus, for example, I use synthetic oil for the summer and on the winter, but it's especially important on the winter when you're talking about preserving the internals of your engine. That synthetic oil makes a huge difference. So if you have a recommended oil weight, for example, in my Lexus IS350, the recommended oil weight is 5W30. So these weights you can do some research on, essentially tells you the viscosity at different temperatures that the oil will go through. So typically for my car, there's actually a recommendation that if you go with something less viscous, it will actually help the performance in the winter. So if I went with a 0W20, for example, the winter weight is lower, the oil actually transfer up into the engine faster. Now, I highly recommend you read the instruction manual on your car. Different cars may recommend different weights. They may just say use one weight, and that's the one weight you should use. Thus, make sure you're using a full synthetic oil, so at least when it gets up to that weight or that viscosity, much quicker. Winter is definitely the time where most of the wear happens, so if you want to protect the internals of your engine, make sure you're using a high quality synthetic oil. Tip 2, also very important, you should not skip out on, is winter tires or checking the condition of your tires. Now, I know a lot of people don't have the luxury of purchasing winter tires. I highly recommend you should. Your safety is actually the most important thing for you, especially when it comes to winter driving. How many times do you see people get in accidents? You're putting your life at risk. You're putting the risk of your family and friends at risk as well. It's actually cheaper in the long run to use a set of winter tires and rotate them out through the summer. So one thing you should definitely do, if you do have winters or you're putting them on, first, make sure you get really good quality winter tires, number one, that are not super old. Old tires eventually harden up and they don't actually provide that performance that you need in the winter. So make sure you look at the manufacturing date on your tires to see if they're too old. If they're like 10 years old, that's going to be a problem. The rubber has definitely hardened at that point and you do want to replace your tires. But what I like to do when I go ahead and I put on my winter tires, inspect your tires, guys. Make sure, number one, that they hold air in the tire. Make sure there's no punctures or any bulges on the sidewall. These are all things that are super important that you want to make sure that you're on top of before the winter comes. That way you're not dealing with this stuff during the winter, and it's going to protect your safety. Not only is it going to improve the traction and fuel economy of your car, it's just much better if you check, inspect, and have the proper winter tires on your car for the winter. Third tip is mechanical maintenance. So if you have some gremlins that have accumulated over the summer and you haven't taken care of it, you want to get that taken care of now. Specifically for my Lexus, I had some fuse thing that happened. I had to replace the fuse. Great. But these are things that can actually affect your car. It may turn off traction control depending on the type of problem that you have. It could cause a whole bunch of things. You don't want to be thinking about all of this stuff in the winter. Make sure your brake pads and your rotors are fine. Make sure the rest of your mechanical issues on the car are addressed before the winter, because in the winter everything is going to be much harder. If you're thinking about doing maintenance on your car, if you're thinking about the stresses that are placed on your car, it's probably going to make those issues worse for you, and it's going to end up costing you more time and more stress. So really, I like to take the time in the fall to make sure I'm ahead of the game in terms of maintenance. So we talked about oil changes being one, tire rotations being another one, but how about the other stuff, right? Check all your belts on your car. Are they all fine? Change out your windshield wiper fluid to the winter version as winter comes. You want to make sure your wiper fluid doesn't end up freezing in the winter, so make sure you got something that's rated for like -40 depending on where you live for the winter. And just generally, do a maintenance round on your car. Check everything out, make sure things are working properly, make sure things are protected. That way you're not going to have to deal with that stress in the winter time, negative 40 degrees, snow blowing on your face. My fourth tip is making sure that you actually protect the exterior and interior of your car. So what do I mean by this? Essentially, every winter you go through, you're dealing with a whole bunch of salt, snow, contaminants all over on the road that are actually going to penetrate the inside and exterior of your car. So typically what I like to do is do a full detail of my car and protect it the proper way before I head into the winter. So for my Lexus, for example, or my Audi R8, if I'm winter driving my Lexus, I'm making sure I do a full clean on it. So I have a bunch of videos of how to actually properly do this that'll link in the cards above. But essentially you want to make sure your car is completely clean and that you've protected it either with a ceramic coating or some sort of wax. This is going to avoid a lot of the buildup of dirt accumulation that you're going to have on your car. It's going to keep your paint in tip-top condition and protected versus all of the elements in the winter. Very important that you do this on the exterior and interior of your car. This is the time in the winter your car is going to take a beating. It's going to take a beating from the elements. It's going to take a beating from other people, from snow, from ice, from everything, inside and outside. So you want to make sure you take this time in the fall when it's not through that point that we're in hell mode with 40-degree temperatures and a whole bunch of snow, that you can prepare your car for all these things that are going to happen. So make sure, if you haven't watched my videos, check out on how to properly condition and ready your car, either polishing it, getting it ready for a ceramic coating or a wax, and making sure you're cleaning the inside properly and protecting your leather seats or your seats, your cloth seats, to make sure that you're ready for the winter driving that you're going to go through. And finally, tip number 5 is everything that you've done in the first 4 tips are actually to prevent you from needing a survival kit in the winter. So one thing that you definitely want to do, it's probably happened to every single person here. I know in my previous lives, I've been stranded, things have happened, my battery doesn't work anymore because of the temperature, a whole bunch of things can happen, you get stuck somewhere in the snow. You need a winter survival kit. Guys, this is so important. A lot of people don't think about it, but when the time happens that you're stuck somewhere or your car's not starting or something else is happening, you're like, I really wish I had the survival kit. So typically what I would do, you can go to like a Canadian Tire or whatever, pick up a winter survival kit. This typically has like a shovel, got some blankets, flashlights, USB chargers for you, like battery packs to charge your phone and other peripheral devices, tire inflation machines, a whole bunch of these items that you actually need inside of a kit. On top of this, a lot of these kits actually have a booster, a portable booster. So let's say your battery does drain, it runs out for whatever reason, you don't need to connect to another car. You have this battery that actually can boost your car for you on your own, and you can do it simply and easily. So making sure you have this kit is really important. Trust me, you don't want to be in that situation where you're stuck somewhere, your battery dies, and you're like, what do I do now? Your phone is dying, you're stuck, you need to communicate with somebody, what do you do? Right? Have a winter survival kit there for you guys. It's gonna give you that peace of mind. I think everyone should have it in their cars, especially if you're going through winter driving and you're gonna be driving, like in us in Canada, our winter is gonna be pretty brutal this year. It's kind of brutal every year, that you're protected. You always wanna have a fail-safe. That's the fail-safe. But everything you've done from tips 1 to 4 will help you avoid that, but this is that once in a lifetime backup that may actually save you from some horrific catastrophe or just making your day way worse. So that's it, guys. Those are my 5 tips on how to properly winterize and protect your car for winter driving. I think it's super important that you guys do this, especially if you love your car. I love my Lexus IS350. Like, it is one of the best cars I've ever owned as a daily driver. I want to make sure I take care of it, especially in the time that it's going to need it the most. Winter driving is probably the worst for your car in terms of mechanical aspects of it, in terms of keeping the condition of it. And think about it, you're going through a lot, right? You're trudging through the snow, through the ice. There's a lot of things happening. You want to make sure you protect your car and protect your investment. So your investment, on the other hand, protect your safety, protect the people that you love. Making sure you're doing these steps will actually get you there. If you got any comments, leave them down in the comment box down below. I'd love to hear if you guys have any other tips that I've missed on how to actually properly winterize your car for these driving conditions. Let me know in the comments. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, guys. Almost 20,000 subscribers. I'm really blessed. So thank you guys so much for continuing to watch these videos. It means a lot to me, and I hope this video helps you guys. I know winter's coming here, so I just want to prep my car to make sure it's happening. I'm not the happiest about this, so my Audi R8 is going to end up getting parked probably in like a month. You know, I have about a month left of driving it, maybe a month and a half. We're in the middle of September now. So I'm kind of sad about it, but I'm gonna put that away. And I'll actually probably do a video on how to winterize your car for storage. So if you have like a sports car or something that you only drive in the summer and you're about to store it, there's a whole bunch of things that I do on my Audi R8 to make sure that it's ready for that storage during the winter. And at the same time, obviously doing this, preparing my Lexus for that winter driving that's gonna happen. So again, winter's coming. I'm kind of sad about it, but I hope this video helps you guys in winterizing your car and protecting your investments. I'll see you guys in the next video.